Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. So, a very warm welcome, a very warm, respective time of ours to everyone who have joined from different parts of the world. I heartily welcome all of you to one another series of our webinars, and I can see that how our participants are really sharing their pleasantries with each other, and it's really good because these a series of webinars should not only be used as you should not only be an audience here. You should also use these platforms as a source of networking with each other. All right, so today we are here to discuss another very important topic of mm, research domain, that is research design. So, moving ahead, we are talking about research design. Before that, I would like to discuss about research graduate. I'm sure many of you have who are already being such participants of these webinars of ours. They know about research graduate, but all those who are new to our series, for them, especially research graduate is a one stop solution for all of you who are interested in pursuing their research interest and find it quite difficult, or rather, I should say that find certain glitches in certain areas, probably in finding out their right kind of topics, or selecting a right title for their thesis or literature review, or getting sorting out with their methodology, statistical analysis, and so on. So with research graduate, you may you may suffice with your any kind of research requirements. So research graduate basically provides you your customized research solutions for yourself. Okay. Moving ahead, when you talk about contacting research graduates, so you make contact with the given email ID and the WhatsApp number, and you can also browse research graduate on the given website, that is researchgraduate.com. Before I tell you the webinar structure, uh, myself, Dr. Renu Mishra, who I'll be conducting your webinar, and I am conducting the series of webinar, and I'm a research person with research graduate. I'm based in Dubai, and I'm a management educationist from past 12 years or so. And my domain of expertise is primarily HR, strategy, research itself, and I take care of management graduates, primarily masters and doctoral students. So, coming back to the webinar structure, we'll be talking to the topic of interest for about 90 minutes or so. So, with me, it's not like that, we are going to stress upon so 90 minutes. So, no clock tickle downs with me. So, we may stretch it to 100 minutes or so, and we may wrap it into 85 minutes or so as well. So, 90 minutes is an average minutes of presentation where we proceed with our discussion. However, followed by a question and answer session. So be rest assured that all your queries will be answered. So there is no such time limit for the question and answers, where every questions will be answered. All your recordings will be delivered to you, your certificates will be given to you, and your PPTs will be given to you. One very important things which kind of which disturbs also during the webinar, that just in case you are not finding a good experience with the video quality, kindly increase the video quality as per the prescribed specifications mentioned on the slides. Please do so. And all those, please pardon with my bad throat, and all those who are have joined from the phone, they might can experience hazy or blurry vision from their slides. So for that, we really can't help. They also can increase their YouTube quality, but It is also always suggestive that please join such kind of webinars or such kind of workshops through your iPads or your tablets or your laptops. They give you a better quality of experience or vision when you are joining from the desktops or the laptops. All right, so coming back to your topic itself and the webinar. All right, okay. Now, the topic of concern today is research design. Now, research design is not a very unknown kind of term. I should say that it's a very known, or it's a very heard about kind of term. But I'm sure that many a times what happen is that we kind of give the meaning to it as per our understanding, right? What I understand, I will give the meaning to is that per my understanding. What you understand, you will give the meaning to it to your understanding. However, um, every research, whenever you begin the research, you have to understand what exactly is research is. Research is searching again, research, searching again. So till the time you are actually reaching up to a point where you are satisfied with your results, or you are getting the results which are able to answer your objectives which you have set for your research, till the time you need to do your searches. That searches can be in terms of literature or your methodology, statistical analysis, and so on. So, research design is that one aspect of your entire research journey, which gives the direction of your research, that where you'll have to move ahead, what you have to do, okay, how you have to do. So what, how. So how, in when you answer how, in that how, your timeline also comes, because no research is like that, it's a never ending process. It's not like that. You always have a very stipulated time guidelines for every research. Research design gives you that. Research design tells you that which methodology you will go ahead with. you know whether you would like to understand people's behavior, whether you would like to understand their attitude, whether you would like to understand customers preferences, whether you would like to understand their experiences. So if you would like to understand their behavior, you just can't just can't give them in a questionnaire which is into dichotomous way, that is yes or no, or it is designed into a close-ended way, that is four options given and they have to choose. You need an elaborated manner so as to understand what's going on in their mind, right? I'll come more on to that. So basically, research design in a simple language is like how you design your research. So no two research are same. Let me tell you this thing. Some or the other differences would be there. Probably, if there are three variables, so two are same, one is different. Setting is, if variables are same, setting is different. If one study has been conducting in Paris, another conducted same with same variables is been conducted in Patna, right? So the point of me saying is that how you design your research is being guided by your research design. Okay, so let me take you to the exact definition of it, or structural way of understanding research design, which is a way to answer your research questions or problem. Because every research, when you begins with, you're trying to identify an answer to a problem. If not a problem, you're trying to fulfill a gap. Let me take you to the gap where you found out a research gap from literature, right? So with that gap, you are beginning up with your research. Agreed? Every research begins with a gap. You may name it as a problem also. So some point, some aspect which remains unfulfilled or which remain unanswered in the literature, that becomes the mother of your research. That reason itself becomes the mother of your research. And the plan which allows you to answer that gap or to fulfill that gap is your research design. Okay, so every time whenever I conduct these kind of webinars, and especially if it's on methodology aspects, so many a times, many scholars, they ask that just by giving the topic itself that I'm conducting on such, that which kind of methodology will go. So my straight away question comes like that: I need to look at your objectives. So what exactly you are trying to find out? Your objectives gives you an idea that what kind of methodology, whether it will be qualitative, quantitative, or mixed, will be apt for your study. Okay, all right, coming back. So further to your research design basically tells you a complete program. Okay, and it tells you that what exactly will be the final outcome of your research, tentative one, tentative one, and how you're going to collect the data, how you're going to select your respondents, how you're going to analyze your data. So in a nutshell, if I make you understand, don't focus on the side, don't worry about the slides that it's blur and all, just listen to me what I'm saying. So the moment you are finished with your literature, okay, you are beginning up with that. Now I need to select my respondents, how I'm going to select the respondents, how I'm going to collect the data from them, how I'm going to analyze the data from them, what will be my timeline to complete my research, what will be my setting to conduct my research, what all will be the analysis techniques which I'll be using. All that becomes your research design. So if anybody is on the stage of defending their synopsis or proposal, or their PhD defense viva is soon approaching, and if any reviewer asks you what's your research design, so you need to tell them, because many a time many reviewer, they don't ask you separately the questions, they ask you, tell me your research design. So you have to tell all these things to them. Entire research plan you'll have to tell them. Okay, all right. Now, so research design is, in a nutshell, I'm sure that you must have understood that it's a complete framework which answers your techniques, your framework which you are going to use when you are going to design your research. Okay, make sure this is very important. Please pay attention here, all those who are preparing their synopsis for MPhil purposes or for PhD purposes. These are the elements which you need to take care when you are talking about your research designs to be incorporated in your synopsis. Sometimes some synopsis also talks about the sample characteristics also. In sample characteristics, they ask you that what will be the characteristics of your sample. Like for example, you're looking for people who have, let's say, who fall in the range of 25 to 35 years of age, who have the experience of 5 years of experience, who has the education credentials of masters. So these are the sample characteristics. So all these essential elements, when you are designing your synopsis particularly, you need to make sure these happens. And this research designs encompasses your research methodology and data analysis chapter. Okay, so chapter 3, maybe it is generally chapter 3 is your research methodology and chapter 4 is your data analysis. So this is primarily falls into research design. Okay, all right. Now, why we are actually talking about research design, why it is important to talk about? See, firstly, you need to be very clear about whom you are conducting your research on. Very clear. See, what happen is sometimes we are very thorough about your topic. Okay, I need to understand about employee motivation. But employee motivation where? Aviation industry, hospitality, or in general, or in healthcare, or in education. Is there any industry specific, or I just want to just explore employee motivation in general? So is there any population identified or not? If the population is big, then I have to choose the sample. If the population is small, then there is no tension about the sample. I can just take the whole population as a sample if the population size is small. Okay. Then if when my population is then categorized into sample, how am I going to contact my sample? Am I going to distribute the questionnaire via any email or Google survey, or am I going to interview them, and am I going to personally contact them, or am I going to conduct a focus group, or am I going to take a case study? Which method of data collection I'm going to take? How am I going to make sure that within a set timeline my questionnaire are returned to me? This is a very big challenge. All those especially who are conducting quantitative researches and their sample size is big. Generally in quantitative research sample size is big, and they have distributed their questionnaires. So let's say your sample size is, let's say, 350 or 380 or 400. So you have distributed your questionnaire. Receiving your questionnaire is also important in time, right? So that's why research design is important, because it gives you the timeline. So first you give the research questionnaire to the respondents. After 15 days you send them a reminder email. Then let's say 80 will return you back. Then again you send a reminder email. So that timeline which has been provided by to you by the research design is actually giving you a stopwatch. This is a very big hassle in questionnaire specifically. Not only in questionnaire, let's say you need to conduct your interviews. Okay, so the sample from whom, the respondents from whom you need to conduct your interviews, they're not giving you the time, right? And even though they have given you the time, you have reached their offices, but they're not free. So that whole day is wasted. So you need to keep a check, especially during the process of data collection. I'm telling you. I mean, this is a tip or a piece of advice I'm telling you, that especially during the time of data collection, keep a check on the time how much you are investing. Okay, so in case you are conducting interviews, how will you make sure that they are unbiased? How will you make sure that you, being a researcher, you are not contributing or you are not influencing your respondents? Because even if slight of the influence is been reflecting in their respondent responses, it will create an influence in your research. Okay, and that comes under into ethical issues. So all these things have been actually guided by research design very well, and you'll have to take care. Plus there are certain universities which make sure that you have to take care the consent of the participants, to that they are willingly taking part in your researches. Let's say you are conducting a Google survey in which you need to reach out to a large audience, large respondent, then it's okay. You can you are sending a Google form. So by the end of, or by the starting of every Google form, you are just stipulating a line that if agree, you may proceed to fill the form. If not, you may opt out. That's okay. But in the interviews, while before taking the interviews, you have to take the consent, then only you may proceed to take the interviews, right? And many universities, they put a condition that you'll have to present those consent of the participants, that they have given their willing consent to participate in your researches. Okay, it's all is being laid by research designer. Now this consent of the participants is depends upon the university to university guidelines. This is not mandatory for all, I'm telling you. I mean, since the audience is global here, so many university outside India, they put forward, like the, for example, I will not name the university, but yes, where I guide the students from, we have this stipulation that we need to present that the participant or the respondents have willingly participated in the research. Okay, all right. Now, in the research design, there is one theory, that is of theory of causality. Now, before that, I would like to make you understand one thing. When you talk about research, you talk about variables. Understood? Understand very clearly. Many a times I have seen, and it is okay if even if you don't understand, it is absolutely okay, because when we did our research, when we started research, probably 10 to 12 years back, probably before that, these variables, these factors, they were alien terms to us. So this is absolutely fine, that if many of you don't understand, it is absolutely fine. And if many of you understand, please bear with me, because the audience is of each level. So if many of you will say that let's not waste time in teaching basic things, because why I take basic things, because I take that every student should start from basic, and research should be taught in a very simpler manner. Okay, so when you talk about in research, so research revolves around that variables, factors, and when you put up the books, when you take out the books makes you sometimes more confused, right? I'm not saying that books are not supposed to be referred to. Definitely they are very good source of knowledge, but however, many a times we say that what exactly we are referring to, what is variable. Now, in simpler term, variable is that aspect in a research which we are studying, firstly, which is changing, secondly, if not changing, which is causing change. Okay, so three things you need to understand. In research, what we are studying, or about what we are studying, is variable, okay, or variables. It is changing. If not changing, it is causing change in something else, and that something else again is variable. Okay, so theory of causality basically tells you that there are, let's say, one variable. Okay, so theory of causality says that where is a change in one variable, there will be change in another variable. So let's say, for example, very simple. In, I think, all those who have joined us from India, particularly from Delhi, because I'm from Delhi, so I might sound biased to you. Uh, I'm based in Dubai, but I'm a pure Delhiite. So in previous couple of days um, we had rains, right? So whenever there is rain, right, even in Bombay or in Delhi, whenever we have rains, so if there is rain, there'll be traffic. right? So whenever there is a change in one variable, it will result in change in another variable. Understand like this. If there is change in one variable, it will change in another variable. This is being depicted by theory of causality. Okay, so in second this thing, second box, I have explained you this thing only, that X causes Y. So if a farmer is putting fertilizers in his crop, it is giving him better fruits or better crops. So X, which is pesticides or fertilizers, is causing Y. It is better vegetation. Understood? This is theory of causality. Okay? So one variable is causing change in another variable. Okay? Now, this is understood. Now, this, what is being changed here? Let's see here. What is being changed? This is X causes Y. This is getting changed. This is called as dependent variable. Okay, these fertilizers is giving us better vegetation. So if there is fertilizer, then only we are getting better vegetation. That is called as dependent variable. So we are getting better vegetation because we have fertilizers. Okay, and fertilizers are called here in this case are independent variable. Okay, somebody can quickly type in the chat if this is understood or not. I mean, I will, if this is very clear, then I'll move ahead, because this is something which is very basic, although it is very basic, but this has to be very clear. So independent and dependent variable is understood. Okay, great. Another examples I have given, I hope this will be very clearly understood to you, all of you, that if there are marital problems, if right kind of counseling is being given to them, they can solve the marital problem. So marital problems will be solved by counseling. So marital problems are getting solved, they are changing. Dependent variable, they are getting changed by counseling. Independent variable. Okay, now there are some variables which are there in the researches, which are there in the research, which a researcher can't control at times, but there are methods also which you can control. And but for example, which a researcher is actually not studying. For example, I'll take you back to the crop and the fertilizer example. If any one of you is trying to understand that what is the impact of fertilizer A on the crop of wheat in particular session, in particular season. Okay, so it's very simple that fertilizer is an independent variable, and vegetation or a crop of wheat is dependent variable. Very clear? However, there are certain variables which researcher doesn't take into account of. They are extent of rain, conditions of drought, farmer getting sick, availability of right kind of machinery used. These kind of variables also affects the crop vegetation, right? But researcher is not taking them into account. they are called as extraneous variable. But they are there and they are affecting the crop. They are called as extraneous variable. Okay. Now, in this example, if I take, if there is a problem in the marriage of some couple or any couple, despite of counseling is being given, if the couple themselves realize that no, we need to settle down the problems, or if their parents come in between, or if there is a child with them, or if they have a better economic condition, then also their marital problems can solve. But the researcher is not focusing on them. The researcher is focusing on the relationship between counseling services and the marital problems. Okay? So these variables are being called as extraneous variables. Okay? All right. Now, this is the relationship. That change in the dependent variable is because of the change in the independent variable and the change in the extraneous variable. All right. Okay, this is same the depiction of another example of theory of causality, which you may guys can look upon when you receive the slides. We will move ahead. Okay. Okay, this is another example for the explanation of theory of causality. Okay. Now we will talk about controlling of these extraneous variables. Now, sorry, I'm so sorry. Now, extraneous variables, you should understand. These extraneous variables, firstly, you should know that not necessarily that every research will have these extraneous variables. Okay? We can't say that every research will not have, because these uh, variables are actually not being depicted by the researcher, but they definitely affect and impact the findings of your research. Okay. So you have to take a scope that extraneous variables might be there in your research. Especially in the cases when you have a large number of variables in consideration, then you may consider that yes, my I might can have, or my research can have a scope of getting extraneous variables. Okay. Now the question comes of controlling these extraneous variables. Generally, by the use of random sampling, random sampling necessarily will not eliminate these extraneous variable completely. But what happen is, when you are randomly choosing these sample, it will evenly distribute these variables. So it is not like that, there is a concrete sections of these variables. Okay. Second thing is that by taking inclusion or exclusion criterias, that when you are taking, I told you that sample characteristics, right? So when you are settling down your research settings, so by taking certain conditions, by deciding your research protocols. So, while deciding your research protocols, you may decide your inclusion and exclusion criteria. You may actually control your extraneous variables. So, what to include, what not to include. So what not to include when you're deciding that? So in that case, you may talk about these extraneous variables, and then you may actually remove these extraneous variables. Okay, all right, okay. Now, somebody says that these extraneous may be confounding factors, Imran. Confounding factors basically impact dependent and independent both. For those who doesn't know, they might get confused, since you know that I'm telling you confounding variables, they actually you can't explain them in correlation. They impact both. However, extraneous variables, they have an influence on your dependent variables. Confounding variables, they have an influence on your dependent and independent both. Okay. All right. Now, for example, there is an example for your reference. Suppose you want to study the impact of a health education program on the attitude towards and belief about the causation and treatment of a certain illness among non-indigenous Australians and indigenous Australians living in a particular community. Suppose there is an impact of what is the impact of a particular health education program, okay, towards a particular illness and its treatment. So as attitude and belief vary from culture to culture, some people believe towards something, some people they do not believe. Studying non-indigenous Australian and indigenous Australian as one group will not provide an accurate picture. Absolutely. Like, because different cultural group will give you different understanding. Like similarly, when you have a different cultural setup in your sample, they have a different cultural beliefs, they have a different understandings. So you'll have to take in this kind of settings, when you are looking at this example, you have to eliminate the cultural variation in your study, and either you have to study one population belonging to one cultural aspect at one time. So you can't mix both the populations together. In that case, what happen is you will get mixed of attitudes, mixed of beliefs. Somebody say that we like the education program, somebody say that we did not like the program. So at this point in time, what will happen? You will not be able to reach out any concrete results. Like for example, I'll tell you, we just got the results of our what do you call as 12th grades, right? Somebody gave it from CBSE and somebody gave it from ICSE. Okay, now taking the opinion of CBSE students towards the education program and taking the opinion of ICSE students towards the education program will not give you justice, because they both the students are studying different curriculum. When the students are studying different curriculum, they have the different perspective. So being a researcher, you need to be very wise that I need to be careful that what kind of research plan I lay out, which gives me a right kind of results. If I want to compare, that will be right. See, I want to compare the perspective of CBST students towards education program and ICSE students towards education program. That is right. But if I say that I want to understand the perspective of CBSE student and ICSE student towards education program, would not give you a right kind of results, because they both are enrolled into different kind of educational curriculum. So that's why research design tells you that defining and formulating right kind of research questions and objective respectively is very important. Okay, if you want to understand the economy of US and China as a case is okay, comparison is okay, but when you want to compare both the economies, you have to define the criterias. But if you want to compare the economy of US and Bhutan, there's no comparison. I mean, there is a comparison, but US obviously will be super fast, surpassed, right? So you have to define, you have to see that my results should not be more predictable to the audience. Agreed? And my research should be contributing to the research literature as well. Okay. Okay, now coming to the quantitative research design. Okay, now, okay, what is quantitative research design? Firstly, it's very important to uh, okay, somebody is asking me, can you tell me a confounding factor in short is examples? Okay. Okay, confounding factor in short is, confounding factors are those factors which are impacting both independent and dependent. Okay, like for example, mm, I'll tell you, people who let's say for example, people who are studying less. Okay, people who are studying less, or people who are studying less, they might secure less marks. Okay, and they might not get successful also. Okay, so they are studying less, they'll get fail, plus they'll not get successful also. So both the things they are happening, they'll get fail also, they'll not get successful also. Okay, all right. Okay, coming back to quantitative research design. Quantitative research design basically, quantitative research, firstly, you need to understand, it tells you that any research and the nature of the research, the nature of quantitative research gives you numerical data, firstly. Okay. That data, which is more of statistically inclined, and it is the very important characteristics of such research is that which is focusing more towards on um, large sample size, as I told you in the beginning, and it is more on gathering large number of responses. So it's very obvious to say that when you are more on gathering large number of responses, just sorry to cut you in between, all those who are new to the research, and just don't get confused with the confounding variables and confounding factors at this stage. Just don't get confused with that. Okay, you might not use it late. I'm not saying that don't understand it, but don't get confused with it, that if you, even if you don't use it right now, it is not creating any harms. Okay, so just don't create any terror in your mind that I don't get, why I don't hear it any point in time, why don't I understand it. It's okay, no problem. All right. Okay, coming back to quantitative research. So quantitative research basically, like, if you're doing a large kind of project, if you're conducting some large surveys, if your research aims to get large responses from a large sample. So it's obvious that, if when you are aiming to reach out large audience, so in-depth analysis or in-depth responses are not possible. Okay, numerical analysis or numerical data would only be possible. So that is quantitative research. Okay, then example is that, the survey conducted to understand the amount of a time a doctor takes to tend to a patient when that patient walks into the hospital. A patient satisfaction survey template can be administered to ask questions like how much time a doctor asks to see a patient, how often a patient walks into a hospital, and some other questions. It's a very, very random kind of questions, like, or very often kind of questions like, how often you go to a mall, okay, which brand you prefer to buy, okay. Like, now the question is, which brand you prefer to buy comes into quantitative. Why you prefer to buy comes into qualitative. I'll tell you why later, okay. So how much time a doctor takes: 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and so on. How many times you visit a hospital? Twice a week, twice a month, 3 times a month, like that. That these kind of questions gives you quantitative research designs inclination. Okay. Now, study designs in quantitative research. Some commonly used designs are, the number of contacts of the study population, the reference period, the nature of investigation. Okay, how many people are being contacted, what is the time period of the study, how you are conducting the study. Okay, now this is probably a hazy picture. Do not worry, when you will receive these slides you will get that it clear, so please do not worry. Okay, so if number of contacts is when you are contacting the sample, when you are contacting the sample just once, cross sectional; twice, before and after in studies; three or more time, longitudinal study. Reference period is retrospective, prospective, retrospective. Basically majority of the time you guys are concerned with this section and this section. Okay, majority this section. Okay, let us talk about this now. What is cross sectional study design? Understand, this is also a very known term. Many of you must be knowing it, and many of you must be using it also. I'll tell you a very easy way. Basically, in cross sectional study, it's a very simple. First of all, you go, you collect the data, and you come back. So just say, hello, give me the data, and come back. There is no hello, hi later with the respondents. Okay? Simple. Cross sectional is very simple. All right? So if you want to understand anybody's attitude, okay, do you like the rainy season? Yes, no. How much time a doctors take? This much time. Which brand do you prefer this much? Which income brands spends the most? What is the relationship between students studying more and students coming first in the class? How much the study hours they spend? These kind of studies you get conducted into cross sectional, wherein you are not requiring any repeated information. Okay, like for example, if somebody is saying I like Burberry or I like Versace, it's okay, right? So this is one time information I want from my respondents. This is cross sectional study design. The before and after study design, it says that if there is any change, so what you do is, this is not very widely used primarily with the management students. I'm categorically telling you, primarily with the management students. However, the one which are using any program or any intervention, let's say for example, you have designed a study, you have designed a program. So let's say for example, anybody who is from biotechnology or anybody from any science background, they have devised a program or they have designed a any study they are doing. So before that program, implementation of that program, they studied the nature of the population. This is what is happening. Then they implemented the program. Then after effects, what are there? Before and after. The study, mainly I tell the study as before and after study. So this kind of designs tells you that how the implemented effectiveness of program creates the improvement, whether there is any or not. Okay, so this is what. So basically you may say that here there are two different cross sectional studies, one before cross sectional and another after cross sectional. Okay, all right, this is this. Okay, now this is called as longitudinal study. This is also being used, quite a popular one, especially the ones which are doing longitude psychological studies, human behavior, which are doing who are understanding evolutionary studies. They do preferably they do longitudinal study design. Understand like this, the word longitudinal itself explain it. The longitudinal, long. So when you are visiting your population for a long time, regular interval, same population for a long time, just fix this into this mind. In cross sectional, you are not visiting the sample again and again, you're not disturbing them. But in longitudinal, you are collecting the information from the sample from a regular interval of time. Now this interval can be a week, can be a month, can be a month, days. That depends upon your research, how long it is. So longitudinal studies, when you are approaching the same sample, same population, again and again. Okay, population remains the same. Just this is to be noted. Okay, now study design on the basis of reference period. Now here three perspectives are there: retrospective, prospective, and retrospective perspective. Just understand two first. Third is combination of both. Retrospective is when you are investigating about a phenomena. There is a situation, there is a problem, there is an issue happening. Okay, so probably this is being studied by somebody who is understanding history, somebody. So I'm telling you the areas also where you can use these study designs. All right, then prospective study designs. So prospective study designs is basically prospect. Understand the terms which I'm using. So the word itself explains you what am I. Prospect. So the prospective study design resses is that phenomena, situation, or overcome in the future. So what will be the probable outcome in the future? What will be likely to happen? Okay, so impact, effect, implications. Okay, so here let's say some study who has instilled the any intervention, any scientific study, any financial policy has been implemented. So then what is the impact? Let's say, for example, in past couple of years back, education policy was came. So if any study was conducted at that time, that what will be the impact of education, then prospective study design would have been implemented. Okay. Then retrospective prospective study design. Then it is the combination of both. So here what is happening? You are studying the past trends, and on the basis of that you are prospective, you are telling the probable future outcome. So you are studying the what happened in the past, and then on the basis of those records you're ascertaining what will happen in the future. Okay, all right. Now, on the basis of the nature of the investigation, now when you talk about non-experimental is measure outcomes before and after the program for participants only. So there is no comparison actually. So there is no comparison uh, with anybody else. Like COVID, India before COVID and India before after COVID. What is the development of India before COVID and what is the development after COVID? Okay, so this is non-experimental. Quasi-experimental is that measure outcomes for program participants and non-participants without random assignments. So there is a comparison group as well. Okay. Experimentalism, there is a within comparison also and with others also. For both the groups and within also. Okay. This is little complicated. This is the simplest one. Okay. Now, on the basis of these research design, you're going for experimental or quasi-experimental. You choose, like, for example, t-test or f-test. Then you decide which kind of analysis I will take. So if you want to go for, let's say, for example, study designs in qualitative research, now we're talking about that. If I want to take the qualitative research, which is in detailed manner, I want to collect the detailed manner. I want to understand the behavioral pattern of child who is in grade 5 or grade 6, or I want to understand the behavioral pattern of research scholars. So do you think that a questionnaire can give me a right kind of information? That do you like research? Many researchers will say no. Obviously many researchers will say no. Who will say yes? But I want to dwell deep into that. Why? Right? Qualitative research answers you that. It gives you a complete picture. Now, if I want to dwell deep that why this is happening, why this particular phenomena is happening, why people are, you know, not, inclined towards a particular thing, then qualitative research is the answer. Okay. Somebody asked me quasi experimental. Okay. See, when you talk about quasi experimental, it's simple. See, I gave you the example of a non experimental, and when you compare the growth of India before and after COVID, you can simply compare the growth of India and China before and after COVID with themselves and among themselves also. Simple, right? This is quasi experimental. Okay. So qualitative research gives you that what is the holistic picture of it. Now, if the customer footfall in mall A is more than customer footfall in mall B, okay, now you gave the results to the mall owners that your mall has less people visiting you on weekdays. Will this result will be useful to the mall owners? No. He would like to know the answers why. This why will be answered by qualitative research. You can conduct case histories, you can conduct group interviews, observations you can conduct. Observation as in you can just witness that how people are behaving, why they are behaving so. You can simply conduct the secondary research also, dwell deep into that. So basically, qualitative research, I personally call it as holistic research. A reason being, it gives you a insight of the research. And sad state is this, that many universities, many journals still don't give that stature to qualitative research which they gives to quantitative research. But quantitative research, when gets combined with qualitative research, it gives amazing results. Then that's what we call as mixed research. But the logical reasoning behind the numbers of quantitative research is only by the qualitative research. If a person is behaving like this, the reason behind that is by qualitative research only. Okay. Okay. Now, some other commonly used philosophy guided designs is action research. When there are action research is basically when you would like to improve a problem. This you need to understand. Uh, pr- why I'm telling you here is this: somebody who is eager to take on some consulting projects in future. For them, this action research, understanding action research is very important. Okay, so when you are taking some, let's say for example, some consulting projects in future. Okay, so action research is probably like understanding the problem and taking the action according to the problem to deal with the issue, so that you can take right kind of actions after researching about the problem and give them the solutions. This is action research. Okay. Then feminist research is basically it is more focused and more surrounded towards the experiences of and the viewpoints of women, mainly focused. The researches mainly which are focusing on removing the gender inequality, removing the glass ceiling, and the research areas which are eradicating the issues, or I'm sure many of you must be working on the areas which are driving the issues of feminist uplifting or women equality. This is about that. Okay. Now have a quickly look on the qualitative and quantitative research designs. So it's very important to understand. You need to be very clear that what my objectives are demanding. So quantitative research demands you to test your hypothesis, and qualitative research demands you to develop your hypothesis. So in quantitative research, you already have your hypothesis. In qualitative research, you develop your hypothesis. That this is this. In quantitative research, you already have an assumption, which is called a hypothesis, and you test it, whether it is right or wrong. Okay. In quantitative research, your statistical analysis is being used to test the situation. Okay. In research, you analyze the data, you classify the data, then accordingly, you put your interpretation into place. You use number, graphs, pie charts, data visualization tool for quantitative. However, in qualitative, I'll not say that only with the words. There are also data visualization tool, but with less extents. Okay. Major difference in quantitative and qualitative this is that in qualitative research, you are more towards open-ended data collection. Okay. In quantitative, you are towards dichotomous, that is yes or no, or in close-ended questions. Okay, all right. So now it's time for your questions and answers. Let me take your questions one by one. Research design and research goal. This is the first question, Abhipriya. I think research design you have understood, and research design is what you have got. Um, the plan, the overall our framework, what we want to do, what we want to, our overall set of objectives, the framework. However, our research approach is basically, in common sense, is our methodology, the methods which we use, the framework. So, research approach comes into research design. Okay, research approach comes into research design, if I am clear and audible, if you are there. Okay, now research goal is our research objectives, what we want to achieve. So research design, research approach, research goal, you have put into right order. Okay, thematic review. Basically, thematic review is thematic analysis. You have understood. You know what is thematic analysis of the respondents. Thematic review is basically tells you to identify the main themes or the main patterns, repeated patterns which are coming out. Okay, which are coming out of your data, the repeated themes, repeated patterns which are coming out of your data. Okay, so you can say that there is a repeated patterns of students opting for medical coaching every year from so and so institute. So identifying the repeated pattern, repeated themes. Okay, what is the difference between research methods and research? I just explained to Abhipriya. I just explained to Abhipriya, research method is that way how you are going to, let's say for example, collect the data, which test you are applying. So research design is that complete framework which encompasses your research questions, research objectives. However, research method does not encompasses your research questions and objectives. Okay. uh, See, Ms. Das, I would say that the review of literature, when you talk about review of literature is the first thing which you should do. Okay, review of literature is the first thing which you should do, because it gives you a clarity of that gap on which you are actually planning your research. Okay, on which you are going to plan your research, then you plan your research design accordingly once you have identified that gap. Yes, Sudhi, research design is your planning phase. See, any other significance? Obviously, it gives you the research objectives, your research questions on which entire research is based. How to review of literature? See, when you are doing the review of, when you are starting up, firstly, when you are research design, actually, I'll tell you. When let me answer Miss Mosmi about review of literature, then I'll come to you. When you talk about review of literature, review of literature, it should be, firstly, you need to be very clear that which topic I need to be very clear of. I need to get along with my research about. Okay, then once that is answered, then you will go ahead with your review of literature. Now, at first, you may not hit the right kind of review. You may find that there is something which is not aligned with my topic. So you just start collecting the information, or collecting the articles, or collecting the papers related to your topic. Okay, then out of that, start reading and start highlighting the important thing, the important aspect which you think may be of your interest for your research. Then you will gradually, after a weeks of reading, you will come across a review, a research gap, which will enlighten that this is the area which I think is not being touched upon. So basically, you know, review of literature is not a 1 day or 2 day activity, is a day's activity. Okay, it's a day's activity. Now, coming back to Ms. Das' questions, where research design should be positioned. Okay, fine, I'll tell you. Now, when you talk about research design, see, research objectives and research questions. Some university says that they come in chapter 1 in introduction. Some university says that they come in chapter 3. So basically, majority of the university says that in from chapter 3 your research designs starts. Okay, quasi-experimental example I'll give you again. Like for example, you may compare the growth of India before and after COVID, and then you may compare the growth of China before and after COVID. Okay, so there is a comparison of India with China. There is a comparison of India with another country before and after COVID. Confounding variable are those variable which has a impact on dependent, not only dependent but independent variables as well. Okay, thank you so much. We can't say that that which is better, depends upon depends upon your research questions. I can't say that you should go for qualitative or quantitative. Uh, Depends upon your research questions and objectives. I'm so sorry, I missed Imran's question. Does this course consist also type? Yes, this course research design is a qualitative research design, wherein is a type of content analysis. Okay, so you interpret the data on yourself on the basis of the content of the data which has been given. Okay, or however it can be a type of both, quantitative also, but majority of the time it is classified as the qualitative research design. Okay. Okay, for example, my topic is management of perimenopause, how to do review of literature. See, Ms. Dorkar, when you are saying management of perimenopause, this is just a topic. Okay, you are saying management of perimenopause. There is a lot. How to do review of literature? See, these kind of questions I do tell you time and again. These kind of questions, they are quite vague for me to answer that. I'll tell you that study previous articles, previous journals, do related. What I can understand is this is your clinical topic, right? So you'll have to choose the top related journals, the periodicals, the related books. From there you can get your literature. Okay, Miss Demi, or Mr. Demi, how to do the mixed samplings? Or you want to ask the mixed research? You want to ask the mixed research? Mixed samplings is nothing like that. Have you explained very? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, exploratory research design, wherein you are exploring the new, something new. See, Ms. Das, I'll tell you a technique which I also follow in my teaching, that you are exploring something new. Okay, you are exploring something new, exploring exploratory research design. Out of your research, out of your results, you are developing any new concept, you are developing any new theory. That is exploratory news research design. Main challenges of research design can be any. See, if you have not set up your research questions or research objectives rightly, then entire research design can be challenging. However, on a serious note, data collection, I think, can be a big challenge if not done timely these days, because everybody takes time. Second thing, choosing a right type of statistical analysis technique can be a challenge. Third thing, which not be a big challenge, but many a time what happen is that you guys doesn't do the interpretation right. I mean, the English is not done correct. So analysis is done correctly, data collection is done correctly, but interpretation is not done correctly. That is something which is challenging for people like me to review. Okay, so that is, so first and the foremost challenge is to collect the data. That is for the researchers, yes, collect the data. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. See, when you talk about Imran, when you talk about explanatory research design, you are explaining a established phenomena. Okay, already established phenomena with the help of your research, already established theory you are taking, concept you are taking. Wherever you're talking about exploratory research design, you are, with the help of your research, you are developing a model or you are developing a theory. You are exploring a new concept altogether. Okay, that is called as. Okay, so this is what we, this is, see, the name itself says a lot. Descriptive research design, basically, when it comes as that, all the questions, when the research design says that, what happens, why it happens, when it happens. Like, for example, I give you an example. If I want to explain that, I want to identify the factors, that what all factors which impacts the volunteering, social volunteering in Delhi amongst people. Okay, or in Abu Dhabi, let's say in Abu Dhabi. So I will use descriptive research design, descriptive analysis. Okay, so I come across that nationality, age, religion, income are the factors. So what factors? These factors. Which factor ranked first? Age ranks the first. So I am just describing the factors. Okay, this is descriptive research design. Okay, thank you so much, Sudhir. Thank you. A simple question: study about tribal people with population of but could meet. It is quantitative data. Amrita, it is quantitative data. Thank you so much. What is data? Okay, how to collect? Ms. Dolkar, I mean, I think you need really basic some understanding about research. Data is something on which you conduct your research on, the information around which you will conduct your research. That is data. Okay, around which you will conduct your research. That is called as data. Ma'am, what is the maximum quantity we can take to count population out of 100 or 500 percentage? Tanishta, I did not get your question there. Can you elaborate? What is the, see, in order to calculate your sample, you need to actually um, calculate the sample size. Okay, you just can't say that this is what how much I can take, or you can please you can retype your question a bit. I will be better able to answer it better way. Or how to collect, Ms. Dolkar, that depends upon which study design you are referring to. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. So you have to, Tanishta, you have to calculate the your Miss Das. That's what I'm saying. If your population size is 1,000, you'll have to calculate your sample size. There are the various uh, formulas. Okay, so you may have to calculate this. So basically 30% you may calculate, you may say that in order to represent the right kind of representation of the sample, generally we take 30% of the population. So accordingly you may say that if 1,000 if your population, so accordingly you can say that 300. The Tanishta 30%, you may say that 30%. Okay, 30%. But if your population is small, is quite small, then in that case we may take the entire population. For example, for the qualitative research, generally we take the sample size of 12 to 15. That is also minimum 12 to 15. 15 is what we may go ahead with. Okay, 15 is also the okay sample size for the qualitative study. Okay, so for a larger population size, let's say if you have a larger population of 10,000, so then it's okay. 10% also is the representation is okay to go ahead with. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, if you have understood. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Miss Manju, you may reach to the team in order to get in touch. So they will do the needful. All right. So then we can get in touch. No problem. Mr. Bhatt, in order to collect the qualitative data, you may do it by interviews or by case studies, by observations. So the most common method of collecting the qualitative data is by interviews, by interviewing people, or by observing people, observation. What subject or subtopic need to write an introduction and synopsis? Uh, Ms. Dolkar, I think you have uh, introduction and synopsis you will write in about your own topic about which you are doing your research in. There is no subtopic you write in introduction and synopsis about the topic in which you are working on it. Okay, my topic is impact of pandemic on work life, impact of pandemic on work life balance and its approval, uh, and it's approved. Okay, so I can go for thesis with this topic as the pandemic is gone now. Yeah, that's not a see. Pandemic is gone now, no problem. That's not a issue. That see, human evolution has long happened. People are still studying it, no problem. You can still do it, no problem. It's okay. Impact of pandemic on work-life balance, definitely you may go ahead, even if it's pandemic is long time gone. And had it been pandemic, by God forbid, would not have been over, you would not have been in a situation to carry on your studies. I would have been collected the data. So you may go ahead with it, no problem. Yeah, thank you so much, Rachna. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Effect of language and social inequality and discrimination. Great, great. How research design is useful to select the statistical tool for data analysis. It is absolutely useful. I mean, it is indeed a very important part. Research design gives you the research questions and objectives, and research objectives tells you that whether you want to find out the relationship between the variables, whether you want to find out the variations between the variables. On the basis of that, you would choose the data analysis method. Okay. All right. Okay, that's good, Unais. My topic is effect of language in school in social. Very very nice topic. Very nice topic. So, is there any region you have decided, or is just generally you are trying to understand the impact of it? How to define hypothesis? Okay, Bhaskar. Hypothesis basically is that assumption. If you are doing quantitative research, you are testing that assumption. Okay, like for example, there is a positive association between students studying more and securing more marks. So with the help of your research, you are testing this, that whether the students are getting more marks if they are studying. So this is an assumption. So when you are doing qualitative research, you are deriving the hypothesis on the basis of your results. Okay, so then it becomes a tested statement. In quantitative research, you are testing the statement. In qualitative research, you are giving the tested statement, hypothesis. That okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ritika. Thank you. Thank you. So hypothesis basically, unless and until it is tested, it is an assumption. It is also of two types: alternative and null. Null hypothesis represents the negative side, or no, depicting the no relationship between the variables, that there is no relationship between the variables, that there is no relationship between students studying more and their results. However, when it comes to alternate hypothesis, it represents the relationship between the variables. Okay, this is hypothesis. Okay, thank you, Arfa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bhaskar. How to define objectives? Objectives are those statements which basically you answer through your findings. Whatever analysis you do, okay, whatever analysis you do, whatever findings you do, so that is through your research objectives. Okay, sure, Miss Manjus, thank you so much. That will be my pleasure. That will be my pleasure. Definitely, definitely, definitely my pleasure. We may connect for it. Yes, Mr. Padmakar. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Research design primarily, it gives you a roadmap. It, like rightly said by you, it gives you a roadmap, and this roadmap starts right from your research questions, research objectives, research methodology, which furthers gives you research methods, sampling, data collection, data analysis, and data interpretation. Okay, so this is the entire roadmap, and once that roadmap is set and fine tuned, trust me, your research is 80% done. Your research is 80%. No, Miss Manju, is the feeling is likewise. I mean, this is researcher fraternity, so we are, I think we are equally grateful to each other, so there's nothing like that. I think, Ms. Tolkar, you missed that part. So myself, Dr. Renu Mishra, and I'm based in Dubai. I am a management educationist from past 12. I think it's more than 10 to 12 years now, and I'm dealing with the teaching of masters and doctoral candidates. And okay, I did my PhD from India. I am a higher education certificate holder from Harvard, and I serve on research panel for Westcliff University, USA, and a review panel for a couple of journals. This is about me, and my research domain is mainly in HR, also in change management, entrepreneurship, and organizational behavior, to be precise. Thank you so much. What are the Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. What are the effective tools to measure in qualitative research? So, when you talk about effective tools, so I'm starting. I'm assuming, Seema, you're asking me about data collection tools. Firstly, so first and the foremost is about your interviews found to be very effective. Observation is also, and when you have some highly intellect respondents with you, you may also go with the focus group. Okay, you may go for. Yes, Bhaskar. I also believe that research scholars should also, get in touch with, like corporates. They form a network community. Researchers should get in touch with each other, and they should form a researchers community. Networking, they should be doing it. Miss Manchu, you may get in touch with the team, and we may get in touch with each other. No problem, no problem. That'll be fine. Hi, Illusions. I forgot your name, but I really can recollect your picture. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear. Yes, Asika. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, you may read my articles, and see, I'm very bad on updating myself on LinkedIn. Very bad. You may not find my all the papers on LinkedIn, but recently I got my recent book in my in market. I can share that on LinkedIn. I will definitely do that. But I'll make sure that I'll update myself on LinkedIn now. I'll put on my papers on LinkedIn now, all my publications. Yes, Tanishta, you may see Excel is there, and I think users like you who are beginning up with the research, I think SPSS and is very useful. And don't take SPSS like a scary thing. Please don't do that. SPSS is like, see, you guys belongs to a very smart generation. Okay, when we did our research, like literally, don't start guessing my age, 10 to 12 years back, it was really difficult. I mean, getting an SPSS was also a nightmare. So you guys are very good with Insta, Facebook, and whatnot, and SPSS is way much easier than that. So you start exploring SPSS is also very useful software. Okay. Um, Ms. Dolkar, you may get my article. Okay, what? See, are you from management? First of all, let me tell me firstly. If you are from management, you will find my articles useful for you. If you are not, you will confuse. You may, yeah, get yourself confused. How to view search engines? um, Miss Temi, basically, like for example, Google is a very important search engine. Like for others, why I'm saying Google is a very important search engine, because many starters, researchers, they rely Google very heavily. Like ResearchGate is there, Academia is there, JSTOR is there, Sage Open is there. I'm telling for the perspective. I'm assuming that you are fine. You are asking me for review of literature. All these sources you may choose to look for your review of literature. I'm assuming that you are asking me for your review of literature. Okay. You tell me about your about publishing a paper. Mr. Bhatt, there are multiple ways to publish a paper. There are multiple journals to publish a paper. You need to decide what is your field. Then you need to look that where you would like to publish your paper. Okay, so then you may go ahead with. Okay, no, Mr. Padmakar, every research need not to have a hypothesis. That is not necessary at all. That no research is possible without a hypothesis. No, not at all. Every research should not have a hypothesis. However, this is not for the PhDs. The ones who are writing a thesis, I suggest them to have a hypothesis. However, even if not, nobody can say that it's a wrong thesis. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Okay, where Scopus database is no, see, Scopus database is not required. You have Web of Science is there, you have Elsevier is there, you have Sage is there, you have many other options out there. Okay, so don't just rely on Scopus only. If Scopus database is not there, you may mention that as a limitation. Okay, Priyanka, you may mention as a limitation. So need not to worry about it, even if Scopus is not available. Okay, so if Scopus is not there, world is not ending. We have with research graduate, I don't think so. We have done a research ethics, but we have covered a topic on research ethics. But I have personally at other places I have conducted workshops on research ethics, but we may conduct. But on plagiarism, which is a part of research ethics, we have conducted a thorough webinar. We had conducted. Do you have articles on Maslow's theory of hierarchy? Could you share? On Maslow's theory of hierarchy, Miss Demi, first of all, you have written the name as wrong. Maslow's theory of motivation. Okay. So you will find ample literature available on internet. Ample literature is already available. Okay, so please do the justice to your work. Maslow's theory of motivation, it gives the hierarchical view of needs. Okay, physical needs, psychological needs, self esteem needs, self actualization needs. So there is a pyramid of needs arranged categorically. Okay, so that's Maslow's theory of not hierarchy, it's Maslow's theory of motivation. Okay, so kindly do the needful, and please do some homework. And on such topic, there is ample plethora of work available. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Padmakar. Thank you so much. I think if I'm able to contribute a little bit on my part, that's my duty, I think, on whatever, because learning is something which we should keep sharing with others. It's about that what we know, we should share it with others. But being a researcher, or being a teacher also, I always tell to my students, and which I would like to share with researchers also, we should not be dependent, like couple of questions which I am getting it here, like Maslow's theory, and on couple of some basic questions. Okay, see, making you understand is what our duty is, right? But you should also not stopping yourself to learn. Try on your own. Okay, try on your own. If then also it's not happening, then there are people available to help you always. Okay, because the way you have written Maslow's theory of hierarchy, it shows that you have not explored it, you have not searched it on your own. So even then, if it's not helping you, I'm always there to help you. Meet me in the next webinar, I'll help you out with the right kind of literature. Okay, so till then, I'm giving you a homework, Miss Demi or Mr. Demi. Try to find out on the literature of Maslow hierarchy of Maslow theory of motivation. If not found, meet me in the next webinar, we'll discuss. Who can call themselves as a professional researcher? What is the basic qualification? Can you please tell, ma'am? See, dear, I myself also don't call myself a professional researcher. Researcher is always a learner. Okay, uh, we are always a learner. So qualification is, when you are a PhD, you can call yourself, but I'm sorry, I can't answer your question, that what is the qualification of a professional researcher. I would be sorry. SS, the next webinar would be intimated to you, probably 2 weeks time. We hold our interview webinars. Okay, so it'll be intimated to you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manju. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll be there. We'll be there. All right. And Tanishta, every researcher is a learner only. Yeah, no researcher is a professional. Okay, every researcher is a learner. The moment researcher starts calling themselves they are professional, so then I think there is an end to the world of research. Research is all about researching. That's what I call it. Searching and researching. So there is no professional word associated with it. That's what I understand. Okay. All right, so that was for today, and let's meet in the next webinar. And I have given a homework to one of our researcher. Let's see how much he or she do it completely, and whatever the topic of the next webinar would be, it will be communicated to you all. And let's catch up in the next webinar. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so, Miss Manju. I'm also a learner like you. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dhanishta. Thank you so much. Thank you.